Good morning and welcome to Football League World TV. My name is Ned Holmes and this is the debate show. Today we're talking about the Championship as I'm joined by Chris Thorpe to debate who the best Championship 11 for the 2021-22 season has been so far. Chris, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Looking forward to seeing what formation you've gone for and what players you've gone for. Obviously, quite a lot to choose from. So, yeah, it should be interesting, mate.
Yeah, as you said, mate, it's sort of an embarrassment of riches for us to choose from today. But before we get going, as always, a reminder to please like this video on YouTube, subscribe to Football League World TV on YouTube as well, and let us know your 11 in the comments whether you disagree with some of the selections that me and Chris have gone for, which I'm sure many of you will. Well, naturally, Chris, we'll start with the goalkeeper. We've both gone for the same player, and I'll let you say sort of who that is and why you've gone for him.
Yeah, so we've both gone for Sam Johnstone. I think his reputation, speaks for itself. England goalkeeper, obviously, one that's wanted by other clubs higher up the leagues. But fortunately for West Brom, he stayed put there, and I just think his commanding of the area, the way he comes off his line. He's everything you want in a modern goalkeeper. Obviously, not the youngest by any stretch of the imagination, but goalkeepers being goalkeepers, they tend to play into their late 30s in most cases. So, yeah, I think as long as they can keep hold of him for the rest of the season, they'll have a great chance of going up with him and the team. But there's this contract situation that's a bit up in the air. But for now, he's performing well for West Brom, and yeah, I just couldn't really look past him. I don't know about you, Ned.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I just felt, if you're talking about the best player at the goalkeeping position in the division, that there isn't another choice other than Sam Johnstone. I mean, the stats speak for themselves. Sort of joint most clean sheets, the goalkeeper in the defence that's conceded the fewest. But looking at more than the stats, I think his performances when there were question marks over whether that uncertain future might hamper him after on the back of a Player of the Season award season in the Premier League. When for me he was sort of up there with not the best, but certainly that second level of goalkeepers in the Premier League last season. And they kept hold of him, and massive, as you say, if they can keep hold of him past January as well. So that's Sam Johnstone as the goalkeeper, and we'll move to right back. A back four for both of us, Chris. Well, I'll let everyone into the fact that we've actually both gone for a 4-2-3-1 formation today. I'll let you sort of explain once again. We've landed on the same right back. Who is it, and why did you choose him?
Yeah, I've gone for Jed Spence. You only have to look at how he's performed under Steve Cooper at Nottingham Forest to see how much potential this kid has. Obviously still in the early stages of his career, and I think it was a bit of a strange decision for Middlesbrough to let him go on loan, especially to another club in their league. But he's really taken to the task well, and there's even talk that he might go back to the Riverside in January, with obviously Chris Wilder being in the job now and looking at potentially using his usual three at the back formation with wing backs. I think Spence would suit that role really well. I just wanted an attacking option in my team. I'm sure you feel the same, Ned. And yeah, I couldn't really look past him because of the form he's been in.
Absolutely, I completely agree. He's been a real revelation down that right flank for Forest, both as a right back and a right wing back, which I think has been slightly underrated. His ability as a player that I think perhaps at Middlesbrough there was a lot of talk about how good he was going forward, but perhaps that he didn't have that maturity defensively. I mean, he's only 21, as we say. As you said, with Johnstone, another massive boost if Forest can keep him beyond January. A report from the Athletic yesterday suggesting that they're optimistic that the fact he wants to stay at the City Ground, where he's obviously had a lot of success, will help them keep him. But you'd think, someone like Chris Wilder, who does love to utilise wing backs, would find it sort of irresistible to the option of having him back at the Riverside. So that's Jed Spence as our right back. Well, the first place we really differ, Chris, and that's the two centre backs. Rob Dickie, your first choice, obviously hugely impressive for QPR this season as part of a back three. Why have you gone for Dickie, Chris? Is it that sort of all-round game, including, of course, particularly in the early weeks of the season, his goal threat?
Yeah, obviously the goal threat's definitely part of it, but primarily he's a defender, and I just think he's one of the centre backs that I look at who could potentially step into the Premier League either with QPR or another team that might come in for him either in January or the summer. I just think he's got everything you want in a modern centre half. Obviously, he usually plays in that back three for QPR. Maybe I could have gone for a back three with my team. So good at bringing the ball out from the back, and he's not afraid to drive into midfield and sort of create those overloads in the centre that the opposition find hard to deal with. And yeah, the goals he scored have been ridiculous, especially that long ranger he got earlier in the campaign. So yeah, I couldn't really overlook him, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah, certainly. Dickie was a name I considered alongside sort of Middlesbrough's Dale Fry as a sort of up and comer, but I've gone for sort of Gary Cahill in the sense of I think there were just so many question marks when he came in over whether he could still do it at a championship level, and the impact he's had on that young Bournemouth backline. He deserves a place for me. But potentially, if the way I was approaching it, I thought if I was pulling together a sort of 11 to represent the championship, him as a leader at the back is someone I'd want, and so Cahill was my first centre back, and I think you've gone for Cahill's centre back partner for much of the season as your second choice, Chris, and that's Lloyd Kelly. And why is that? Yeah,
I just think he's finally sort of showing the form that I think many people would have expected of him. Obviously, came in from Bristol City, as you all well know, being a Bristol City fan yourself, sort of a young sort of unproven prospect coming into the Premier League, and maybe it's taken a few years for him to bed into life on the South Coast. But I think he's really excelled in the faith that Parker's shown in him, and obviously playing again alongside Cahill is brilliant. With Cahill having won the Champions League, Premier League, that sort of thing. And also he's taken on the captain's armband because of Steve Cook being out of the side. And I just think it's really impressive how he's shown those leadership skills, and he's still only 23 and obviously being linked with, the likes of Newcastle and Liverpool. So fair play to him. And yeah, I like balance in my back four. I like a left footer, and he's probably the best in the division, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah, I completely agree with that in terms of Lloyd Kelly. That expectation that was on him after that sort of big money move, I think it can rise to over 20 million, and a difficult place to step in at first to a Bournemouth team struggling in the Premier League, but now certainly showing his own. And as you say, that captain's armband for such a young player, definitely a massive plus as well. I've gone for Harry Souttar. I think obviously he's been sidelined this season, but for me, I think he was when he was playing. I think he was arguably the finest centre back in the division, and I think that dominance in the air and on the ground, used that big physical frame so well. I think he still got around really well and excellent with the ball at his feet as well. A mammoth blow losing him to Stoke's promotion hopes. So yeah, I've partnered Harry Souttar in there with Gary Cahill. So another place where we differ, Chris, and that's left back, the final position in our back four. Who have you gone for?
I've gone for Jordan Zamora. Seen a bit of him in live action for Bournemouth this season. Really impressed with the way he not only defended, but also his attacking threat. The way he links up with Jadon Anthony. Obviously, they both came through the academy there, down that left-hand side. Is a joy to watch. Obviously, he's injured at the moment. They need to get him back to full fitness. But when he's fit and firing, I just think he's been brilliant. And you wouldn't think he was as young as he is because of how he's taken to it. And again, fair play to Scott Parker for showing faith in him when he could easily, dipped into the transfer market and potentially brought in a more experienced option there. I know Robbie Brady's come in, but he's probably going to be back up at the end of the day because Zamora's been so good.
Absolutely. I think, as you said, alongside sort of Jadon Anthony was a name that I didn't know much about, and I wasn't expecting to see play such a prominent role for a sort of title challenger this season. He's been hugely impressive. I've gone for Connor Townsend, West Brom, left centre back / left wing back / left back for me. And, another one that for me just had to be involved. I think he's been excellently defensive this year. Again, part of that sort of best defensive record in the Championship, and also a threat going forward. I think we've seen when he hasn't been in that back three, or when he's been absent from the team completely, how much they've struggled to sort of move the ball forward, and particularly when they've had those struggles going forward, West Brom, his versatility is so important for them, and he just fits in at left back for me. We move into sort of central midfield then, Chris, and the first pick is someone we've both gone for, and one of Connor Townsend's West Brom colleagues. Chris, why have you gone for Alex Mowat?
I just think he's the sort of the marquee signing for Ishmael when he went in there at the Hawthorns. Massive blow for Barnsley to lose not only their head coach, but also to lose their captain and best player. Like, it was just crazy, really. And he's proven what everyone thought, that he'd do the job for them, and he has done. Obviously, he always comes up with outstanding goals like that striker away at Blackburn. He's just superb. He's got everything that you want in a midfielder. The energy that he has, if I look at my team, if Zamora was flying forward, I'd still back Mowat to be able to fill in on that left side to cover that space left there. And then also, when he's getting forward, he obviously gets goals, as I was already mentioned. And I think he's done really well to sort of leave the sort of confines of Leeds United, go to Barnsley, do so well. And now he's back at another, bigger club, if you like, in West Brom. And I think he's taken to the task well. And, what a signing for a free transfer. I don't think any Albion fans would be complaining about how well he's done so far.
Absolutely, yeah. I said Alex Mowat in my team as well. I think, he's been exactly the player that Ishmael would have been hoping he would have been when he brought him over. It's never easy making that sort of transition. Easier perhaps under the same head coach, but I think for me, he's one of those all-action midfielders, as you say, can do a bit of everything. Fill in defensively as well as our goals, but I think he just lifts the sort of quality of everyone around him as well, and I think he makes the rest of his team better players, and I think that's why I've sort of stuck him in there. The second central midfielder then, Chris, we've sort of opted for different players here, and yours has been one who has been sort of the beating heart of his team this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, John Swift, Reading. Couldn't really overlook him because of the goals and the assists he's got. Ridiculous statistics when you consider where they are in the league table. Obviously, again, another player linked with clubs higher up. It's no surprise, to be honest, because of how well he's done. I'd say he's another one that lifts his team's performances just because of the influence he has in the final third. I know I've put him in as a deeper sort of player, but obviously I'll be backing him to get forward and help my front line get some goals as well. I just couldn't overlook him, and I'd be very shocked if he's still playing for Reading come the end of the season, to be honest.
Absolutely. Quite the season John Swift's having at the moment, and I guess for his personal career, the perfect time to have it, really. I've gone for Philip Billing. I just think, when he's on song, and he has been on song a fair bit this season, he's a majestic player and the sort of best technical centre midfielder in the division for me. Such a threat in that opposition box, not quite reached the sort of 8 goals, 9 assists of John Swift, but 7 goals and 4 assists for him. And I think you touched upon it there. I get the feeling Philip Billing won't be playing in the Championship next year.
Yeah.
Not linked to whether sort of Bournemouth go up. I think he's that good, and I think it's been a real treat to watch him in the EFL this season. We move then, Chris, to our sort of attacking three just behind the striker. We'll start on the right wing, and a player that we both went for. I think it's one of those ones where when he arrived in the summer for a big money move, I think we probably all suspected he'd be on this list when we came to doing it in January. Chris, just how impressive has Harry Wilson been?
Yeah, really impressive. Fully justified the price tag already, I'd say. And, when they made that signing, I think we all looked at it and thought, that's Fulham going up, to be honest. Not to put too much pressure on them, but I think they will go up automatically this season. Not just his goals, but his creativity, obviously coming inside on that left foot. Everyone's seen what he can do with his previous stints at Cardiff and Derby. And I think he just deserves a shot at the Premier League. And I like to think he'll be doing that with Fulham. Obviously been very patient, stayed at Liverpool. Could have potentially gone on loan again this summer, but he's come out of his comfort zone and chosen to move to West London, and he's doing really well under Marco Silva. So yeah, he definitely couldn't be overlooked by either of us, to be fair.
Absolutely, as you say, sort of fulfilled all the lofty expectations that everyone had of him, and I don't think it's a coincidence that when a player of that quality is on the right, a player that might feature later in our list is having a sort of record-breaking season in many regards. I think he's allowed that Fulham attacking unit to really thrive as well. We differ in central attacking midfield, Chris, and I think we've both gone for players that perhaps don't usually play in this position for their teams week in, week out. Who have you gone for?
Yeah, I've gone for Jed Wallace. I've watched him since he was coming through at Portsmouth, to be fair. And I've always admired him. I always thought he'd go on to bigger things. Obviously, went to Wolves, didn't really work out for him then, and he ended up at Millwall, and he's just become their talisman now. Obviously, like you say, not a natural number 10, but he's a player that likes to drift out wide, whether it be the left or the right, and obviously he gets goals and assists, and he can come up with the spectacular. Obviously, we saw it first game of the season. In fact, away at QPR, scored that stunning goal. I think it was his left foot, actually. So he's got that in his locker. Again, another player that could move to the Premier League soon. I'm shocked he hasn't already, to be fair. But he's sort of getting to that stage where he's really in his prime. And yeah, I couldn't leave him out. I just think he deserves all the credit that he's been getting over the past few seasons.
Absolutely. He's certainly been a mammoth player for Millwall in recent seasons. We greatly missed if he does go. I've gone for Chris Willock. He's been used in a range of positions, I guess, including centre attacking midfield, deeper in centre midfield and up top. I think this season, Mark Warburton, one of the things he deserves a lot of credit for is the way young attacking players have come through sort of under his tenure, and Chris Willock for me has taken a huge step up this season. He's sort of dazzled and stood out every time I've seen him, and I've been sort of to the Keane Prince Foundation Stadium quite a few times this term. I think, as Mark Warburton put it, he's got that sort of Premier League pace to let him move past players, but he's also so clever. His vision, his passing, and his finishing as well has just stepped up a notch this season. I think he's been amongst the Championship's best players. And now we sort of move to the left wing spot, and a player that I think we both felt couldn't possibly be left off this list, and has been used out on that flank by Tony Mowbray this season. A bit of a fairy tale story, of course, in the summer with Chile, Chris. Ben Brereton Diaz has brought that confidence and that sort of star power back to Ewood Park with him, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's mental, really. Even when he does a tweet on Twitter, you see so many Chilean people commenting on what he says nowadays. He's actually a star over there, and I'd argue that he's potentially their best player, even better than the likes of Sanchez and Vidal. He's been absolutely superb. It's not usual that you get a player of his height and power that plays on the left-hand side, but he sort of made his position his own, and he sort of carved out this reputation as a wide target man, if you like. And it's hard for fullbacks to deal with a player of that height who's got good threat in the air as well. Like how do you sort of compete with that if you're a fullback that's not usually going to be over 6 foot? It's hard to deal with. Obviously, he combines well with Tyrese Dolan and Sam Gallagher as well at Ewood Park. And with Leeds United and Brighton already being linked with him, you have to worry for Blackburn. Are they going to see another repeat of the Adam Armstrong saga that we saw last summer? I think we will. And he's fully justifying the sort of fees he's being talked about. £20 million. It'd be an outstanding turn of events for him, especially after performing so well at the Copa America as well. So had to be in there.
Absolutely. I think we talked about expectation quite a lot on this list, and he was someone that I think last season and perhaps the season before was perhaps starting to drift away, having arrived for a fairly big fee at Blackburn, but 17 goals already this season. If Alexander Mitrovic weren't on a sort of scary run, he could well be on his way to sort of breaking that championship goals record himself. as you say, easy to forget. I think he's still only 22, and he's just been so impressive this season off that left flank, and someone that sort of spearheaded Blackburn's perhaps surprising push right at the top of the Championship table. Chris, we come to the final position then, the striker. I mean, I don't think it will surprise anyone that both myself and you have gone for Fulham's Aleksandar Mitrovic. 22 goals, 5 assists in 21 appearances. On track, of course, to absolutely smash the Championship goals record. He just couldn't be left out of the side, could he?
No, he's on fire, and let's say he's always on fire, to be honest, when he's been at Fulham. He's going down as not only the best striker in the Championship at present, but I'd say one of the best strikers that Fulham have ever had, and perhaps even one of the best players they've ever had. He's just outstanding. He averages probably 2 goals a game, and to be honest, I just expect to see him on a score sheet when I get a notification saying Fulham scored. He's just brilliant. Without them, I don't think Fulham would be anywhere near as much of a threat. Like if you just take him out, it's like if you took Ronaldo out of Man United's team. They look kind of average, sort of. No disrespect to all the other players they have. Obviously, your Carvalhos, your Wilsons, your Bobby Reeds, but Mitrovic provides the difference. And if you've got a player scoring 25, 30 goals, maybe even 40 this season, the way he's going, you're always going to be up there. And, he drives on not only Fulham, but also Serbia, the way he scored that goal against Portugal to help them qualify for the next World Cup. He's brilliant, and he's definitely a big game player. And you just want him in your team. You wouldn't want to be up against him, put it that way.
Absolutely. Certainly someone that we feel like week in, week out just absolutely dominates opposition defenders, a phenomenal finisher, and as you say, a big game player, and someone I'm excited to see sort of just how high he can go in the Championship this season. Also one of those players that has been chucked in that sort of, Cameron Jerome bracket, if we're going to call it that, who've thrived at the Championship level, but people say that he's never going to make it in the Premier League. I would love to see him prove a lot of people wrong next season and take Fulham up and continue to score goals up there. So that's Aleksandar Mitrovic for both of our strikers. Before we go then, Chris, I'm just going to read through both of our teams one more time. You had Sam Johnston in goal, Jed Spence right back, Rob Dickey at centre-back, Lloyd Kelly at centre-back, and Jordan Zamora at left-back. John Swift and Alex Moore were in holding midfield for you, with Alex Wilson Harry Wilson on the right, Jed Wallace in the central attacking midfield, Ben Brereton Diaz on the left, and Aleksandar Mitrovic up top. I had similar in terms of Sam Johnson in goal, Jed Spence at right back, Gary Cahill and Harry Suter were my centre back duo, with Connor Townsend on the left, Philip Billing, pairing Alex Moore in midfield with Harry Wilson on the right, Chris Willock centre attacking mid, Ben Brereton Diaz on the left, and Aleksandar Mitrovic up top. Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Anyone watching, please, if you're watching after the fact, don't forget to sort of submit your suggestions to the comments on YouTube or on Twitter. That's all from us today here on Football League World for now. But Alfie Burns will have another debate show at 4 p.m. this afternoon, where he'll be looking at, could we see a player exodus at Derby County in January. Thanks, Chris, and thanks everyone for watching.